Hey, welcome. I'm Marshall, the VP of Sales here at Mangomint. And today we're going to cover in this feature spotlight our two-way texting feature. This is one of our newer features to the software, and it's an add-on to any of our 3 plans. We're going to dive in with a couple different use cases for two-way texting and go into the nitty-gritty of how it works, how you can test things out, and where to find it within the software. As always, these are live sessions. So if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat and we'll tack back to those as we go through the feature. So first things first, we're going to take a look at the software. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so when you're logged into the software, you're going to see this messages app here in the software. Everyone has access to this. What this is going to show you is all of the notifications that go out from our automated messages. So if you haven't added on two-way texting, you still have access to the feature itself. This is going to show you not only the texts that go out, but also the emails. So when an appointment has been booked or canceled, or the notification that goes out by email after an appointment. So your messages tab is not isolated to just the two-way texting. It's also going to show you, if you're wondering, hey, did Natalie get the notification for their appointment? You're going to be able to view that. Yes, okay, that was delivered. If a text was not deliverable, it would also show you that. So that's really helpful just from the zoom out view. Now, if you are adding two-way texting to the software, you would do that from your subscription. So within everyone's account, you are given 5 free messages right off the bat per month that renews. If you want to add on two-way texting, this is a $75 add-on. So it's $75 per month, and any additional location is an additional $25 per month. So that's where you would add the messaging, but just know that you all have access to it from your Mangomint account, because this is where your automated messages would go out of as well. What's nice about this feature, and something that I particularly just love about it, is that it's really centralizing your client communication. So this is giving you a way to communicate with your clients and manage those conversations all in one place, regardless of who's having the conversation. So in order to dive a little bit deeper here, you probably have seen that we have these automated messages. So all of these notifications go out to the customer or to your clients based upon how you've set them up in automated messages, whether that's a text asking them to confirm their appointment or an email. In its simplest form, we could be looking at the calendar and say Andre is running late, and we want to let Julian know that Andre is running late. From that appointment, we can just select the message bubble. Hey, Julian, Andre is running late. As I type that out. So we can go ahead and send that directly from the software itself. Not only are we going to see this in Julian's profile, but we're also going to see who sent the message. So MM, those are my initials. That's Marshall McKernan. If it were a different staff member sending that message, you're going to see their initials there. Now, before you even ask, I love to jump into some of the details of this, because you might be saying, okay, great, but I have, client contact details hidden from my staff members, which is a permission that we have where we can either toggle on or off access to client contact details. The nice thing about our two-way texting feature is that it respects this permission. So if you are deciding to centralize your communication and you want all of your customers and all of your staff members and all of your clients to communicate through this one place, you can give everyone access to being able to send messages to their customers, where you can also see them and see who sent that message. With that, if I did not have permission to Jillian's contact details, they would not be seen here from the point of view of that staff member. So in its simplest form, the two-way texting is the ability to centralize communication, control access to proprietary information, and have access, one click away to seeing what's going on with that client. So the second use case that I find is very interesting and that we're seeing is really common these days is anyone who might be using our forms and needs a way to then follow up with the customer. So I'm going to go into just some little nuances that I've seen work really well. So lately there has been a big influx of, one market that I see it in is hair extensions. So you might have an external form linked on your website. In this case, here we have like a color correction application. Oftentimes, salons won't want to put the color correction as a bookable service because they need a bit more information before they can book that client in. So here we have the form, and this can be linked directly from your website, and the client fills this form out. This form will then load into your form submissions here, but you can also set it to notify a specific email address that a new form has been submitted or a new external form has been submitted. What I love about this is when an external form is submitted, it also will create a client profile. So if we take a look here at the color correction form, we can see that this person has filled out the form on the website. They've uploaded inspiration photos, and we can actually from there look up this client. Even though they don't have an appointment on our books, they now exist in our client database, and we can go ahead and send them a message from here. So, hey, Marshall, we received your intake form. At this time, maybe we need to gather a bit more information, or maybe we just need to let them know that they are good to book. We can either send them the direct link to the service we want them to book based upon the intake form, or we can gather more information from there. In real time, I'm receiving that text to my phone because that has my phone number on there, and I can write back. So as soon as I write back, we're seeing that pop up here. So that's directly from my phone. What I also love about this is it gives a bit of, it gives you the ability to then, when you have these intakes, or maybe you're using that for some sort of lead generation, you can then have a point person at the salon or spa, whether that's the service provider or your front desk person, who is in charge of reaching out to those customers who showed interest in that service and getting them booked from there. They can also collect more information. So if, for example, I told Marshall that we needed, a close-up of their current hair or something along the lines of like, did you have any inspiration photos? They could then send us those photos, oh, I want to go, very platinum blonde. Here's an example. Those can be sent in through the text messages. So that way you can collect more information there. So that will pop up my Wi-Fi on my phone. Cool. There we go. So I sent through more inspiration. I can then see that and save that in the thread. So it's a really great way to streamline communication here. The last thing to note on this topic is that your phone number is unique to your business. So when you go into your settings, business setup, you're going to now see this setting for phone numbers. This is the phone number associated only with your business for your automated messages as well as your two-way texting. If needed, you can change the phone number. So if you're in an area where you need a specific zip code, you can go ahead or area code, you know what I meant. And it's going to give you an option of available numbers in that area code. So again, it's going to default to your location of where, of when you started the account, but you can change that if needed. This is now the number that someone could text you to. So you could even list this as the textable phone number on your website. Before anyone asks, it's not a voice over IP, so there's not the ability to make that, a callable number. This is just for texting only. Okay, so I'm going to pause really quick. Any questions specifically on what we've covered so far? Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize I was sharing the wrong tab. Let's go back. So into settings, business setup, you're going to see your phone numbers here. And this is where you can go in, change a number, and be able to select an area code that you would want. This will give you options of different numbers, and you can pick the one that works best for you. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at where your phone number lives, this is the phone number that you can link on your website. You can say, give us a text here. However, this is not a number that is callable. Heading back out, as I mentioned about the form submissions, I had talked about being able to text that person who submitted a form because the form does create a client profile for them. And you can ask them for additional questions. This is where, I responded, and I can even send in photos, inspiration photos, what have you. The next scenario I'll go over with two-way texting that I think is really valuable is the ability for your customer to then have instant access to you. And the big differentiator here is that this isn't just on the browser, the Mangomint browser version of the software. We can also access this through the mobile app. So on the mobile app, you would just log in. You're going to see, the Mangomint app. You'll click the three lines in the right-hand corner, and you're going to see messages. From here, say you're, need to move appointments around and you have somebody who's out sick. So Harriet here can now take on that responsibility of reaching out through the software to her own clients and letting them know that she'll be out for the day and she needs to get them rescheduled. I see this as being a way to really relieve some of the pressure on the front desk or other staff members, depending on what type of business you have, in terms of direct client communication. You will then, from your end, be able to see when Harriet reached out. And did the client respond? So we can see that they reached out. We can also see if there's been any response to that message and help, jump in whoever's working, whoever's available. Now, obviously, if Harriet's too sick to reach out, it could go the other way, where Harriet calls in, you reach out, Harriet can see that her clients have been taken care of if you do have that support and that front desk person. Okay, so that is the basics of the two-way texting. And there's a couple scenarios that I've run into that are really interesting to me. And I want to go through some of those settings. So if we jump into the messages settings, a couple things here. So some people have asked, they don't necessarily want just like this feed of open messages. So you can set up your settings to have messages close after inactivity. So when we go to messages, we're only seeing what's open. So this would kind of be like the messages you're still working on. Maybe you're waiting on a response. Maybe you're getting someone scheduled. Whereas if we click over to closed, we are seeing the history of everyone who's received their automated messages as well. So in those settings, you want to pay attention to these because they have come up. You have the ability to automatically close messages after a certain amount of inactive days. It's defaulted to 3, but that's up to you. We also have an autoresponder. This autoresponder will go out to all incoming texts with a standard response saying that messages will not be received and clients should call instead. So this is going to be a great tool if, one, you need to say you're going to be out for 24 hours, but you can be accessed by your landline phone number, or you don't want to be responding to text messages for that time. So like I've seen it used in that scenario, or if you're not going to be using two-way text that can also be turned on. So that way clients know that they cannot respond to that number if they need to cancel or something like that. So you've got some settings there that you definitely want to pay attention to. Okay, I don't know if we showed this, but I want to just pull this up for reference. So in terms of, let me just add some more appointments in here. So in terms of where you're going to see the messages and how do you want your staff to see the messages? So if we go in and we go to staff member, and let's go to their permissions. We talked about hiding client details and respecting that permission, but something else I want to take a look at is the actual permissions for messages in general. So can this person send messages? So this would allow them to send messages to clients in the conversations that are visible to this person. Meaning, can they view individual conversations? So this is conversations and message history for clients that are visible to this person, but it does not allow them to send. You would need to toggle that on. That means if you have client ownership set up, they would only be able to see the messages for the clients that they own. If you don't know what that is, you're probably not using it. And it would just be, do you give them access to clients or not? Then we have the permission of can they see all messages? Now, again, this really depends on your business and how you want this to run. But in my personal opinion, I really think using this feature as the future of how we communicate with our clients is going to be the way. So in a lot of scenarios, I've seen salons and spas go ahead and turn on can view all conversations. This gives them viewing, allows them to see the messages screen, but it still doesn't allow sending messages unless you turn that on. So this can be, all the way set to just enabling them to send messages. And this would be from the calendar view. So in its simplest form, you can give them that permission to see the client here and be able to send them a message here. The reason I love this is because it's transparent across any user that has access to this. So you're going to always see that client communication. It's not like I can go in here and hide this message from you. If one person has access, it creates one streamlined way of communicating with the client, and it also eliminates any miscommunications. So another scenario that I've seen is if you've ever had a chargeback and, Mangomint needs to reach out to you and say, hey, we've had a dispute filed against you. Do you have any proof or communication with this client that we can use as reference in the dispute? Well, not to say that it will cause you to win, but rather than having to go to the stylist and ask them if they've texted with Julia ever, you can designate this as your one stream of communication with your clients. So then any photos that are exchanged, before and after things, all live in that client profile and within that client's messages. So in the client profile, we can see, past history, if any photos were uploaded, forums, as well as click into their messages. Okay, so that is viewing from the calendar. You can decide if you want to give them access to viewing all messages or the messages feature here on the menu bar. Really depends on how you see that flow working. Any questions so far? The question came through, is there a way to change the number to our existing text number? No, the only ability is to change based upon what available numbers there are. We don't have the ability to port in numbers. So you would need to go into the phone numbers, select change number, pull up your area code and see what's available. But we don't have the ability to port numbers from other devices or other carriers. Really great question, though. Okay, so one of the last things that I wanted to touch on, and something that I think is really exciting, when I owned my salon or spa, it was right when the pandemic hit and everybody was beginning, we shut down and we're beginning to reopen come that summer. And I remember all of our local, guidelines were customers need to inform you that they've arrived, and then you can do this little intake. And so we had adopted at that time a texting app. What I would have loved is if that app could actually, same thing, be across the platform and actually have a push notification. So that way I could see it from my own device, which I wasn't able to do. So one thing that I really love is if a admin or a user, a staff member has the permission to view all messages, you can also turn on the push notifications that are coming from the Mangomint mobile app to notify you when a new message is received. So if I am, a user and I am receiving a notification, I can see and tap through right on my phone and be able to communicate directly with the client on my phone, which is leaps and bounds beyond what I've seen in other platforms. And it's really exciting because it really simplifies that. It's also a feature that, when I owned my salon, it was like you're wearing every hat, and there might be a day that we're closed and nobody's on the phones. That gives a way where I can still be, at my son's baseball game or at the beach and booking clients from the app that I'm right within the software. Their client profile is there and I can get them booked in. So when we talk about really streamlining communication and making sure that we can easily send, receive, and reply to client messages in real time, this is the way to do it. It's available on desktop and mobile, so you'll always have full access to that conversation. Okay, don't want to tease too hard, but we definitely have some additional developments coming to this feature that I'm really excited about that will even more so streamline the way we communicate internally. So look out for those. And in the meantime, we can dive into any questions we have. Yeah, Ria, thanks again for that. If you have a current text number, I'd be curious, is it a actual phone or are you using another method of texting for your clients, like an app or something like that? Because I have seen, depending on the app that I've seen people use, it'll sometimes be just like a generated number. There are some apps where you can port in your landline. That isn't something available at this time, but I'll definitely make that recommendation to the team. Okay, let's see. One other scenario that I saw recently that I thought was really helpful is the ability to, when you're looking at the calendar, maybe you see someone who has not filled out their form. This is a great way to be able to just let them know you still need that filled out. So we could say, hey, we still need your form. And we can just, send them that information here to fill out that form. We can also always resend notifications if you just want to push that last notification they got for that appointment, or just send them a reminder and let them know. The other thing that we can do is send the request directly from here, and this would be as a text. Sometimes, that's what they ignored. So sometimes I will add something personal and just let them know, like, hey, we still need this form filled out. Let's get it together. So that's a way to keep things more personal. The last thing that I really love to do is whenever I see like a new client on the books, that's a prime opportunity to reach out to them. And I've heard it referred to as the cookie. So I think a lot about Alaska Airlines, for example. If you sit in their first class, which is usually like a short domestic flight, but it's, wider, better seats, they also always serve a warm cookie. So it's a way of welcoming you and doing something special that you'll remember. It's sensory, it's temperature, it's a great chocolate chip cookie. So when I think about being a new client somewhere, that first interaction actually happens before they walk in your doors. So how easy is it to book with you? Maybe they booked through your online booking and it was really simple. So we'll pop over here. I go in and I book a facial, and I don't want to add any other services. We've got the day and time down. Here's all my details. I agree to your policy. This all seems great and fine. This is a new business that I've never been to before. I complete their forms. But immediately I could be followed up with like a really lovely text that just says, hey, we see you're allergic to nuts. Just so you know, we do have almond extract in some of our products. We'll be sure to exclude those from any services that you have and so on. And I think that's a really great way to quickly, I already have that in there, but I think that's a really great way to quickly create trust with a new client. And the nice thing is you can easily see who new clients are in Mangomint, because when a new client books into the software, let's create a new client here. You're always going to see that new client right here. So those can be your targets, maybe for the next day. If you have a front desk person or that's your responsibility, take a look at the books ahead and just reach out to that new client. Maybe there's a tip on parking. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a salon or spa where it's pretty much metered parking through and through, and nobody let me know that. And then I end up running late because I'm in the middle of Los Angeles and don't know where to park. So that's a great touch and a great way to use the two-way messaging. So that way also the provider can see that they've had that point of contact. Okay, so with that is two-way texting with Mangomint. Apologies that I wasn't sharing my screen on that one portion, but I think we went back and covered all of that. Happy to help if you have some unique scenarios that you are wanting to touch on. We can go over those. Okay, we had another question. You're using Haymarket. They cannot call in. Okay, so yeah, Haymarket is going to be like a third-party app that sits outside of it, and we can't port over the message or the phone number from them, but this would basically replace it within the software. Is there a specific phone number that you picked with them, or were you just more concerned about changing the number in general? I will say that is something nice, in your automated messages, you can customize them. So if you are switching over from like a previous phone number that you used to use to text, because keep in mind, if you're using Mangomint, they're already getting texts from this number. So you could go in and customize your notifications to say something along the lines, just a heads up, this is now the number to text us on. You can save it as, and this is 3 Rivers Spa. So if we save that, this is going to be included in your messages. Oops, if I could spell, that would be like really helpful. There we go. So that's one thing I would suggest. So that way with all of your texts, maybe just for a month or two. So those regular clients know, okay, we're no longer going to text the other number. This is the one. They can save this number as 3 Rivers Spa. Not only will their notifications come from this number, which makes it really obvious, they'll now get those two-way texts from that number as well. And you can include that in any of your text messages that you want. So you'll just go in and customize them. So that way your clients know this is the text number for you now going forward. Okay, cool. Yeah, totally understand if you've had a number for a long time. Unfortunately, I don't believe there is any way to do that. Happy to check back. I can check with tech and just see if there's anything I don't know. Okay. So if you're interested in two-way texting, we do actually also have another webinar when we launch the feature, but you can go ahead and add it into your subscription here if you want to begin using it, see how that works for you. Again, with all of our subscriptions, there's no contract, no commitment. So if you add it on and you love it like we think you will, great. If not, you can always make changes to your subscription as well on your own. All right, y'all. Well, that's all I have on two-way texting. Ria, I will follow up on that question that you had. But with that, I'll leave you to your Tuesday. Have a great one.